Hello folks, Doug Walker here, and something I've been seeing a ton of people that have their own websites and video shows and stuff doing just a ton this past week is their favorite and least favorite movies of the year. Everybody's doing it, everybody's asking me, what are your favorite films and least favorite films, so gonna give in to peer pressure, and I'm gonna say which films really made impact on me, both positive and negative. And these aren't in any particular order, and honestly, no film this year I thought was spectacularly good, and no film I thought was spectacularly bad. Keep in mind, I don't go see many films anymore unless I'm reviewing them, for like a bum review or something. And I usually just try to see good films, so I'm sure there's phenomenal films that came out this year. I'm sure there's terrible films that came out this year. I didn't see any that really affected me that largely, like something really huge. Like last year, I Love Where the Wild Things Are is one of my new favorite movies. I mean, none of these I would say is like any of my new favorite movies or is doing anything spectacularly new, but there's a lot of films I like and there's a lot of films that I didn't like. So, with that said, I'm going to do my least favorite, and that's something to keep in mind. A lot of these films, some of these films aren't like bad, like they're terrible, they just really annoyed me. So this is going to be a list of my favorite films of the year and my least favorite films. The ones that really annoy me. It doesn't mean they're all terrible. If you like them, great. They just bug the hell out of me. So the first I'm going to do is my least favorite films. I think there's like 6, something like that. I'm not even doing 10. And first thing I'm going to do the runners-up for least favorite. And there's 2. The reason I say the runners-up is because they're so bad they're funny, and they're so entertaining, and I love them so much. The first one, as you can probably guess, is Twilight Eclipse. These movies crack me up. They just are hilarious. I love the dopey vampire. I love the studly werewolf. I love this girl who is pretty much the worst character ever written. Now, I don't mean that like she's written badly, though she is. I mean, she's diabolical, she's mean-spirited, she's this terrible, manipulative creature. She's the real monster in this movie, and she's just playing around with these 2 boys and acting like she's tortured, even though her life is cotton candy. And I love how they try to make her look like she's the everyday innocent girl, and she's just a hideous beast, and I adore it. I love how these movies think they're just really capturing something. Actually, I will say this. The past 2 movies you can tell are at least trying to be good, but you can't work with this writing. It's terrible writing, and all the tweens would have a heart attack if they didn't stick to the books, I'm sure. So yes, that is a very enjoyably bad movie. The second runner-up for really bad movie, but it's just so fucking funny, Devil. And this is already getting a cult following for how enjoyably bad it is, and it is great. I mean, and you've heard everything. What the hell is the devil doing trapping these people in an elevator for these, really misdemeanors of hell? They're not the worst thing. There's, fascist dictators all over the world, and they're doing worse things, and it's like, oh no, this guy hit and run, ooh. The devil's taking his time with that. So, and it's given me my favorite line of the year. I love this line, jelly side down. And actually, I don't even know that line was said in the movie, but it's a situation where this guy, the wise Hispanic guy, I think is the new term, who has this, he's trying to say the devil is near, the devil, el diablo! And he has this piece of toast, and it has jelly on it. He says, whenever Diablo is near, little things go wrong, every little thing goes wrong. Watch! He throws the toast up in the air, and it lands jelly side down. That's the proof that the devil is near. Jelly side down. How can you not love that? How can you not adore such stupidity? Of course, the writing is terrible, the characters are over the top. It annoys me a little bit because this is a good premise. I like the idea that an elevator is stuck and the people, and one of them's a murderer. That's a good idea. When you bring in the devil, that's really stupid. So, but it's enjoyably stupid. It's one of the most fun, bad films you'll see in a while. So, I dare say check that out because it's a lot of fun. In terms of the actual films that really annoyed me, one of them is Alice in Wonderland. Love the way it looks, hated the story, hated a good chunk of the characters, Depp as the Mad Hatter is forgettable. Alice, forgettable. Some of the side characters like the Caterpillar and the Cheshire Cat, they're okay, and the March Hare, you know, they were fun, the Queen. But this is a story that is not supposed to have a story. This is an experience. This is supposed to be a girl going around seeing these creatures and these characters and just her interactions with it. That's it. There's not supposed to be a revolution. There's not supposed to be this big fight. And I know everybody says, oh, it's like the second book. The second book was still an experience, though. It's just her coming across these things. And I'm really shocked that Tim Burton, who is so good at telling these stories that sort of don't have a story. They're just things that happen. And he's so good at that, and for him to give it a story really shocks me and is such a disappointment. And you turn her into Joan of Arc at the end, and you're having her fight this Jabberwocky. I mean, this is pure Hollywood taking over something and completely missing the idea. And it's a shame that someone like Tim Burton, who I thought really understood this stuff, could miss the mark so bad. If it is his fault, you never know. Could be, again, the Hollywood system. But I mean, this script is nowhere near what Alice in Wonderland was. I mean, and there's a bajillion plot holes with the Cheshire Cat, who seems like the strongest thing in the world, and he lives in his own existence. What, he's picking sides now? He's fighting for the rebellion, like this is Star Wars. And I'm always amazed at this cat that can imitate people, can turn into people, can float, can disappear, can turn huge, can turn small. He could fucking eat this land! And he's still fighting the rebellion. It's like, 2 seconds, this should be over. There's a mushroom that turns you into a giant. Eat it. Squash the queen. Movie over. This is so simple. And that's the idea of Alice in Wonderland. It's not logic. It's the opposite of logic, and this movie is trying to put logic to it. Huge mistake. Really did not enjoy the film. Should have been an R. Can't believe it got away with PG. That is bullshit. She's walking on severed heads. This is PG. So that film I really, really hated. Now, one film a lot of you are going to be shocked I really didn't like, which is not even necessarily a horrible film, but I really hated it, is Let Me In. I know a lot of you are really shocked by that. And it's not because I saw the original. I didn't see the original. I'm just going by the film itself, and what really disappointed me in the film is that the acting's not bad, cinematography's not bad. Even the setup for the story is not bad. It's the fact that it gave us nothing new. This is all stuff we knew. Vampires suck blood. They act like this is a big shock. You know, they can't go out in the daylight. Again, acting like this is a big shock. They kill people to survive. They live millions of years. Acting like this is a big shock. What is new in this movie? And we see these bullies, which I hate in movies, you know, just cardboard bullies who have no reason to exist except but to be the villain. And they're not interesting, they're not developed. You have to sit there and watch them make fun of the kid and beat him up, whatever. It's boring. We know the kid's gonna get the revenge. You have to sit there, watch the unpleasantness. You can practically say the lines. A bully would be more interesting if they actually went into why he was a bully, why he's doing these things, sort of what makes him, you know, what makes him act this way. That would be interesting. I would like to see a movie about that. Maybe a movie about a vampire bully, you know, that does this shit. That'd be great, and they go into the psychology of it. I am sick of the innocent victims. That's all it is. Go into the jerk. Why don't you follow the jerk? You know, find out why he's a jerk, instead of just saying he's born bad. No, really go into it. You know, so that really annoyed me. But the fact that there were no surprises in this movie at all. It's about, I think the only thing that's sort of interesting is we find out that the person taking care of the girl, spoilers, the person taking care of the girl was most likely the girl's old boyfriend, you know, from years back. That's interesting, and that's actually, it's like, wow, you could sort of play off with that, but that's only hinted at. The kid's parents are barely seen. When they mention them, I mean, you think they're going to go somewhere with it, they don't. Every aspect you could take that could go into a really interesting new area, they don't take. And at the end, the ending of the film, in my opinion, is where this movie should have started. It ends with, I'm not giving away too much, characters on the run. And how they have to travel and how they're going to get around, and it stops there. That is where the real movie should begin. I want to see a movie about the characters traveling, how they survive, how they get along. I mean, because what's going to happen? The movie just sort of stops. And I want to see what's going to happen next. I don't care about the shit before. I want to see, because that's new. That's something I haven't seen, is these kind of characters going off on a trip like this and how they're going to survive. That's the interesting part, and that's where they ended. And that pisses me off. So, again, as a movie, it's not, like, terrible. I mean, the characters are written okay, and they build up the suspense, it's shot nice, but there is no reason this movie should exist at all, in my opinion. I know a lot of people really like this movie, and like I said, it's not even horrible. By some definition, it's not bad. There is just nothing new to it, and that it really bugs me when a movie gets a lot of credit for doing something that a ton of movies have done before. So, again, if you're just looking for, if you like vampires and you just want to see vampires being vampires, it's very good at that. But, and it does bring some drama in, but there's just, like I said, a broken record, nothing new. So, that's a movie that annoyed me. I'm sure you got your own opinion. Another movie that seemed very split, people either love or hate this movie, was Kick-Ass. And, yeah, I love the first 15 minutes, love the last 15 minutes. The criticism everybody gives it, I agree, it takes itself way too seriously. It gets so mean-spirited, so violent, and I wouldn't mind that. I love that if it's funny, but it's not funny. They just make it so cruel and gritty and bloody. And you see Nicolas Cage come out as this Batman guy, and it's hilarious. He has this great way of talking, but, there's a scene where he's, like, getting tortured, and it's really grim, it's really nasty. Why is that entertaining? I mean, especially for a film that's setting up, don't take us seriously, this is silly. Why would it go so grim and so dark and mean? And I couldn't see the fun in it. And when it was funny, it was funny. I like, the guy trying to fly at the beginning and crashes into the car. The fight scene with the girl at the end. Great. Again, without giving away too much, the scene with the gun. Great. Love it. Why couldn't they keep that up? Why couldn't they keep it funny? I don't know. It really bothered me. Because I saw aspects of a real good movie here, and it just seems so unpleasant, for a film that had some real pleasant moments, it was so unpleasant, so, didn't enjoy that. Alright, and the last two slots, they're both comedies, and, the first one that really annoyed me, maybe some of you saw, maybe you didn't, it's called Dinner for Schmucks, and it stars Steve Carell, who's usually pretty funny, and, boy, talk about a role where just they create this stupid person who is literally just too stupid. I mean, at first it's almost like dealing with a mentally handicapped person, but he just does and says so many things that are so dumb, you have no way of identifying with him. You can't laugh with him or at him because it is just beyond the realm of what anybody could consider any form of intelligence. And it's just fascinating how much this movie doesn't work, because he's just constantly, they're throwing bad joke after bad joke after bad joke with this character, and you're just stuck with him throughout the film, and he's not entertaining. You know everything that he's gonna do, you know how he's gonna botch up, and he's not likable because he's not identifiable, because you simply cannot get around the lack of intelligence with this person. And that's saying a lot, because we as Americans have dealt with a lot of enjoyably stupid characters. You think of like Homer Simpson or Family Guy, and so many various idiots that are so stupid, and you know how stupid they are, but you still identify because you get the idea of how their thinking is going, and you just can't grasp it in this film. So this film was a real letdown, because I think it does show the limit of just how stupid a character can get before you stop rooting for him, and you really do just want to punch him. But not even in a sense that you can identify. I take it back. You don't want to punch the character. No, you want to punch the writer, because you're not thinking about this character. This character is not real. He's not even a work of fiction. He's a work of this extreme sloppiness. And again, I shouldn't say writer, because again, I don't know. Maybe the writer wrote it great and other people came in and tinkered with it, but the creators of this character are the people you want to punch, because this was a horribly created character and is not the least bit enjoyable. So that's the one comedy I didn't like. Alright, and the other comedy that really annoyed me, again, it's not like it's one of the worst films ever made, it's not, but just in terms of annoyance, this film really, really annoyed me, and I really fucking hate it. It's a film a lot of critics liked, a lot of people liked it, I despised it. It's called Easy A, and a lot of people really like this film, and the only reason I didn't walk out is because once in a while there was a funny scene or a funny line. I mean, maybe 3. And they were good enough that I'm like, okay, I'll give it a chance. Maybe it's working to something. But this film has so many things that just makes me want to sock it in the face. First of all, okay, the girl in this movie is a knockout. She's a bombshell. She looks great. She has to put effort into making herself look this good, and she's supposed to be the everyday common girl, you know, the, oh, I disappear, I can't be seen, nobody notices me. Bullshit. You're hot. You could get any guy in that school. First failing right there. Second, this film, anyone that knows me knows I'm not against the left or against the right. I'm not pro-left, pro-right. It is so despicably left, and it is so despicably anti-right, especially against the Christian right. And the low blows they do the Christian right, we've seen a million times. I mean, these are the jokes Family Guy coughs out. I mean, just, they sneeze out these jokes. Oh, hey, a conservative right joke. You know, it's there, and the characters they put on the Christian right are so traditional, so boring. We've seen them a bajillion times, and they're so tired. And the fact that they're showing this to us like, look, this is what the Christian right is like. And really? You haven't been watching the super, super left, you know, shows on TV or movies that have been making fun of this for, you know, a few decades now? I mean, you really haven't been noticing this? You think you're the first one to point out, you know, some of the extremes? That annoy me. The parents in this movie, honestly, I think are the worst written parents ever. Again, unbelievably left, super hippie. They tried to make them hip, though. They tried to make them the modern parents. And they are terrible people. They do not look after their kids in the least. They just let them do whatever they want. They make all these adult jokes thinking like, you know, oh, because we're hip, we're with it, we're the super left family that, you know, hey, hang with me, man. They want to be like your best friend. And you're fucking parents, okay? You're goddamn parents. Every time they're on the screen, like, a boy comes in, they're like, oh, you're gonna sleep with the boy, you're gonna ha ha ha. I think the mother shares her sex life, but they're not treating it like this is, you know, crazy or nuts. They're treating it like this is the norm. This is the way your parents should be. It's a shame that people don't, you know, have parents like this. And they're horrible. Every time they know there's a problem, they never address it. They're just like, oh, she'll figure out how to, you know, fix this problem, and she herself is pretty stupid. You know, she makes all these mistakes, and which she knows are mistakes, but goes with them anyway. And, you know, obviously, even if you want them to figure out their own problems, they need guidance. And they don't offer any guidance. They just make really bad one-liners and act just smiling and chipper the whole time, and really, I think the worst parents I've ever seen in a movie. So really hated that. I hate these plot twists they kept throwing in out of nowhere that, you know, almost seem to have no point. They tried to do something with, like, the hip teachers, too. And again, just super, super left hippie bullshit that I hate. I hate it just as much as the super, super right conservative, you know, gun-swinging whatever. And there's such extremes. And if you want to make fun of them, fine. Don't try to glorify them, though, when they're this extreme. Again, love the premise. This is a great premise. It's sort of a spin-off the Scarlet Letter, where you have this this girl who's pretending to sleep around all the time. But it turns out she's not. She's getting paid actually just to say they sleep around for whatever reason. And she eventually just decides to glorify and wear an A on her chest. Great idea. Love it. You can do a lot with that. But it's just so, like I said, it's so open and liberal and stuff like that. And here's the other thing that really pisses me off. I'm sorry, I really hate this movie. The thing that really pisses me off is that they keep building up, this is not the John Hughes movie. This is something on my life. I think they even say that my life is not a screenplay written by John Hughes. You're right, it's not, because as corny as he was, he wrote a lot better material than this. And it is obvious that it's trying to be this John Hughes movie. I think at the end they do a little homage, but it's not even homage. It's trying to be something new with it's like a new spin on John Hughes, but it's not. It's setting it back like several light years. You know, the John Hughes genre, if you can even call it that. I mean, it's just setting it back light ages. And, oh, I really, really hated this movie. And like I said, just for a few scenes that kept me going, that kept me in it, I would have walked out. I hated it so much. So those are the films that really annoyed me. And again, as much as I went on and on about how bad they are, these are not the worst movies. These are films that just really, really got under my skin this year. So again, that's my opinion. A lot of people like these movies. I bet you want to know what movies I do enjoy. Well, coming up, watch the next video, you'll see.